did. You just graduated last year.
Yeah.
She just graduated last year, and is extremely enthusiastic. And someone I feel a kinship to, because some of y'all that know me know I like to experiment all the time. Never know what you're gonna see on the windowsill or whatever. And she does too. And she comes from a family, a gardening and landscaping family, so it's in her blood. And if it's in your blood, it's not leaving. But she's from New Orleans. Did I say that right, or is it New Orleans?
New Orleans.
And but has moved up here and lives in Cordova, and is just constantly doing different things.
Grocery bags and garbage bags and poke holes in it in milk crates. And I was on a 3rd floor apartment complex, and all you would see is all this greenery. So I was the talk of the complex, because they were like, what is that lady growing up there? They thought I was growing something illegal. I said I would be very bold to do that. But I was growing tomatoes and peppers and squash and herbs on my balcony on the 3rd floor of an apartment in milk crates. That's when I began to experiment. And then, you know, that was when the topsy-turvy was popular and the upside-down gardening and all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of started me doing the gardening thing. And as I moved around Memphis, I would expand my garden. And I always look for something different to do every year. If it's a different type of gardening, I have done hugelculture, square foot gardening, container gardening, you name it. I've tried it. If it's something that comes up, I'm going to look it up, I'm going to try it. And some things I do is a combination of the different techniques that I've learned. So recently I learned about wicking buckets. If you are on YouTube, you can look up Gardening with Leon. Mr. Leon is a farmer in Oklahoma. He spearheaded this. I'm not saying he's the first person that came up with this, but he spearheaded this because he wanted kids to learn how to garden. He wanted truckers to learn how to garden. You know, he has something called a trucker's tub, where you can go out, do your work, come back, and not have to worry about your garden being watered. And that's kind of how he spearheaded this. He's also really big on recycling, and so am I. So what you're going to see is I'm going to use some everyday products that you don't have to go to the store to buy. You can go buy the ones that are already made, the wicking buckets, but you're going to pay a lot of money for them. But you can make wicking buckets out of your own stuff. The main thing I want you to understand is on the bottom of your containers is a number. You want to make sure that you're growing in a container that is safe for food. Now, I know a lot of people look at the cat litter thing, but it's safe for food. So if you Google it online, I had it on my demonstration. I can't remember the numbers, but I remember the 1 to 2 to 5. You want to make sure that those numbers are on your container. You do not want to grow food in a paint bucket. You can grow flowers in it, but you can't grow food in it. So you want to make sure to check that first.
What are the numbers?
The numbers, I remember 1, 2, 5. I'm not going to quote it. Look it up, Google it. Okay. Y'all not a Google? Okay. So this is the bucket I bought. This is the bucket from my cat litter, because I try to use everything with stuff that I already have in the house. I also have milk jugs. There's a couple of different ways to fill your wicking bucket. So I have a couple of them in here. If you drink sodas, I know somebody that drinks sodas, save your soda bottle. If you drink Gatorade, I played with it because I experimented. I didn't know. Okay, so the flat side right here where the label is where you're going to lay it down. And then you're going to drill a hole on the opposite end of your top. And this is where your PVC pipe is going to go. Now, you do not have to use PVC pipe. If you have another type of pipe, it's food safe. You can use that too. But that's what you want, and that's how it's going to look. That's your water reservoir. You're going to put that in your container. And if you notice on the side, there's space on the side. That's where your wick is going to be. That's gonna be where the soil is gonna go into the container, and the soil is gonna be able to wick from the bottom water all the way up into your plant. Now, if you use bottles and cans, it's just too junky for me to keep all these, as I tried it last year, it's just too much. But anyway, you're gonna put these in here, and I'm gonna do it and I'm walk around and show it to you. Maybe one more. So you're gonna fill up your bucket. And you see all those air spaces? I'm gonna walk around with it. You see all those air spaces? That's where your soil is gonna fall into the bucket. And that's gonna be a wick, excuse me. That's gonna be a wick for the water to come up into your plant. So you don't wanna fill it completely with bottles. Maybe if I do like this. If you do like this, you'll have a hole. The first time I ever made a wicking bucket, it was one of those totes. You know those totes that we save stuff in and that lives in our garage for centuries? Yeah, those ones. So I was like, I had so many of them, and I'm always looking for a way to repurpose. So the first one I made is when you take the top, and I brought a top, you take the top of the container, the tote, or even this, and you cut it to fit down in the container. And you would take a coffee can, same thing. You want to hit it with a hole at the bottom for water intake, so it'll be on both sides. And then you would cut a hole here and drop it where it would sit maybe 4 or 5 inches above the water. You would drill some holes just for air, and then you would plant on top of it. There's a thing called Upsy Daisy or whatever. It's the same as this, but this costs $2. It costs $8. But you can make it out of this if you have the tops. This is just another way to do the same thing. And once you fill your plant, now with the bottles, let me show you something different. With the bottles, I'm going to explain, then I'm going to demonstrate. Where your hole is drilled is where you want to put your pipe. Your pipe, well, I cut this from a 10-foot pipe. But you would have a flat side and you would have an angled side. You want to put your angled side on the side of your hole. And the reason why you want it angled is so it can uptake water. If it's flat, it won't do it. So you got to have it on a little angle, no particular angle. I'm not a very precise person because side flush, one side angle until I finish cutting it. And these are about 20 inches. It just needs to sit out a little bit just so you can fill it up. And so you will put this like that in the side of your bucket. Now some people would like to buy the caps. I'm not buying a cap. I told you I'm about recycling. Stick a bag in there. Stick a bag in there because you want to also be mindful that mosquitoes will lay larvae in your wicking buckets. So you want to put something in this hole. The other reason you want to put something in the hole is you don't want it to all fill up with rainwater, because not only are you going to put water in here, you're going to put half-strength fertilizer in here. Every time you water, you're going to put that in there. Now, this is another thing. I didn't bring the right top, but you are very intelligent people, so you can follow this. So if you want to keep the top, which I don't have the top for all of my buckets, you would just make a hole for your pipe to go through, and you will cut a center hole to plant your plant. So it's kind of like mulching without mulching. But the good thing about it is you want to prevent your containers from filling up with rainwater all the time. What I did, because I'm me, I just got a plastic bag. Because I got plastic bags, we got all these Kroger and Walmart bags. I just took the bag, put it over my container, pierce it through right here. You can tie some string, rope, whatever around it to keep it secure. It's gonna keep your container from filling up with rainwater and from it depleting your nutrients out of your soil. If anybody gardens in any kind of way, you know, with the rain that we got coming, it will deplete the nutrients out of your soil. It's not that nothing will get in it, but it will not deplete your nutrients as fast. And I kind of go with the square foot method. However, whatever you can grow in a square foot is what you can grow in this bucket. I grow tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and with my tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, I always companion plant. So there's a marigold in there, there's a basil in there. With a tomato, you can grow carrots around the bottom of it, as long as they're not too long of a carrot. So the good thing about the Wicking bucket is, it kind of takes the limit off of gardening. If you're in an apartment complex and you don't have anywhere to plant, or you're in a senior center and all you have is a small patio, you don't have anywhere to dig in the dirt, you can use that and you can plant and you don't have to worry about messing up the area that you're in. So it's good for kids. If you're trying to teach your kids, your grandkids, your neighbor's kids, anybody's kids to garden, that is an easy way, because they won't be likely to let that dry out like they would a regular pot. You know, like, oh my God, they're dead. Oh my God, what happened? But you know, at least every 2 to 3 days, you can check it to see if it needs water. You can use a bobber. What I don't like about bobbers is you have to leave the top open. You can use a bobber like what you use for fishing, with a stick, and you can have the bobber set to the water level. I don't care to do that, because like I said, I'm always conscious of mosquitoes. And to help you with the mosquitoes, have you ever heard of Mosquito Dunks? Yeah. Okay, they have the dunks. I use the dunks in my kiddie pool gardens, but they have the pellets. You want to use the pellets. Put about a teaspoon in your Wicking bucket, maybe every 2 to 3 months. I have not done that. Mosquitoes are something else. I didn't know where they were coming from because I had this plugged up, but you got to remember, you got your hole down here. So when the water level falls below that, they can go in that hole. So you have to have something to prevent the mosquitoes from laying eggs in your bucket. So you want to buy a Mosquito Dunk, the little pellets, to put in your Wicking buckets, whatever kind of Wicking buckets you have, or any kind of anybody does kiddie pool gardening. Never heard of it. That's another class. Sign me up. Kiddie pool garden is a sub-irrigation garden just like this. The difference is you will buy one of those small kiddie pools, you know, those little $5 pools, $12 pools. You will drill a hole about 2 inches up so it can hold 2 inches of water at all times. And you can plant in your grow bags inside of those. That is another thing that's good for if you travel, or if you just don't have the energy to water as much. It's one of the same. I probably didn't have enough stuff to bring, enough space in our truck to bring all the different things that you can wick in. This is another thing. If you don't want those ugly buckets, you know, everybody don't want cat litter buckets in front of their house. That's not cute. You know, you want to have something that's nice and pretty, but have the same function. And in front of my house, I get south facing sun, and it's really hot. And every year, I would have my plants on the porch, and I'd be like, oh my God, they're dying. You know how they look pitiful? They look like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to find out something else I can do that I can keep my plants looking vibrant all season. So this is what I came up with. Same concept. You drill a hole, one hole. No, do not remove the plug. Do not drill any holes, nothing. One hole, 5 inches up. This has no PVC pipe. This is what I used last year. So I have one little hole to intake water. This is going in this container. It's an ugly can, nobody can see it, it's gonna be hidden, nobody will know, you know, you can just do it like that. And the can's purpose is, you're gonna get one of those long pots and you're gonna set it inside the can. Set it inside the urn, or whatever your decorative container is. The can is so it can support this. Here we go with recycling again. If you ever go to the florist in your grocery store, they have tons of these. If you ask them for it, they'll give them to you, more than what you care to have. So this is what this is.
That's what they put cut flowers in.
This is what they put cut flowers in, and they get rid of them. So I have a lot of them. You can use them a couple of different ways. So of course, this is my husband's t-shirt that he volunteered. Or like my daughter says, he voluntold, I voluntold him. And so you're gonna use this as a wick. You're gonna take and run it through your plant, and I let it come all the way out to the tippy top. And so now you have your water reservoir. That's what your can is in there for. Your can is so your pot can sit on top of it, can elevate it. Because most pots are not gonna be very long. So this, you probably can get a bigger pot. But with this, you just water from the side. You water until the water starts coming out the hole. And then the wick inside of here is gonna water your plant. And you know, spiller, thriller, filler, you're gonna put your spiller over the wide part that's wide open, so it can spill over, it can cover that. So you're gonna put your spiller here, you're gonna put your thriller in the background, and you're gonna put some fillers in the middle. That is for your decorative plants that you want on your porch, and you don't want, you don't want the ugly buckets. So you use that like that, and you got some self-watering containers. Any questions?
I grow a lot of ferns, and I put ferns all over. So if I bought a big fern, I would take it out of the black container that it comes in and put it in this one.
If you want to use something like this.
Okay, then you run the wick up through. Okay.
And this is from Aldi's. I paid like $14 for it. Sam's and Home Depot and a bunch of them have these. And it doesn't have to be an urn per se, just something nicer than a bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I take it out of the original one that it comes in. I don't drill holes in that one.
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
Just get you something, like this.
Okay.
And I'm sure if you're gardeners, you got a lot of buckets and pots and stuff around the house.
Okay.
And you can, I've done it, like I said, I've done it so many different ways. You can plant smaller pots inside of this pot. You can do that. That makes it a little bit easier, especially if you have something that's gonna die out before the season and you need to replace it. You can do the same thing, but you're gonna run multiple wicks. So you'll start from the bottom and you'll run a wick up each planter. And that way, you don't have to worry about watering as much. And I probably can pull up my video. Let me pull up the video. I'll show you the end of the video where I'm doing the flower. I just want you to see the buckets after I'm done. I'm saying the same thing. Okay, it'll come up after this. Well, yeah, it blocked it. But that's my plants in a wicking pot on my porch. And that's really good for, like I said, a lot of times we want to make things really pretty and decorative, but it can be cumbersome if you don't have a good watering system. I don't have, hoses and stuff in the ground. I don't have a good irrigation system. But you can still have the beauty, I'm not going to let it keep playing. You can still have the beauty of having these containers without having to worry about the watering, because that is usually our job. The biggest job in our garden is to water it, and of course, pest management. That's the other one. So, any questions about anything? Yes, sir.
Food grade bucket, number 2.
Number 2? Food grade bucket number 2. He's saying the number on the bottom of the bucket should be a number 2.
So in this one here, what do you put around the outsides of the interior pot? Yeah, so.
Outside of the interior, the plants, they're gonna grow over it.
Oh.
You talking about this part right
went
here?
in.
Where you put the water, right?
Yeah, this is where you put your water. You just put your hose or your watering can in here to water.
Okay, but so nothing is in there, it stays empty, you don't
It
put
stays
stone? Okay.
Yeah, my pot is not filling the whole container. You may, I have some other pots that's kind of the short round pots and they sit on the top. So it will cover this area. This was just for a demonstration. Cause like I said, if I brought everything that I have in Wicking, I couldn't put it in our vehicle. I have too many things. But yeah, this part, you're gonna, just leave it open so you can water. And if you should have a pot that will cover this area, you just lift it up a little bit and put your water in it.
Okay.
Hopefully don't plant anything too heavy. Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused. So dirt is in the black inner
It's
thing?
in this one.
There's no dirt, there's just,
No dirt in here.
so you plant all your plants?
In here.
Okay, I've just
So
never seen this.
The wick is what's soaking the water,
This is-
drawing the water up into the plant,
Yes.
into the soil, in order
Yes.
to actually water the plant.
Yes.
What do you suggest? I noticed you used a t-shirt, but like, is there, what other items that you could use?
Well, any type of fabric. I use a t-shirt because most everybody has a t-shirt. If you have an old towel, anything that's gonna soak up the water. It can be a pair of raggedy jeans, just any type of material that's gonna soak up the water.
socks.
A sock, you know, whatever
You always
it is,
have
but you want it to
miscellaneous
be
socks.
long enough, because this was the bottom of the t-shirt. I cut the whole entire bottom of the t-shirt. So depending on your container, because you can do it with smaller containers, this just was my, because I actually made a wicking can out of this. I did the same thing. I use wine bottles. Wine corks. I'm not gonna say I drink a lot of wine, but I have a lot of wine. So I put wine corks all over the bottom of my can, and I grew herbs in it. So the corks, and they float. There can be a booger bear when you get ready to start it. But I had the corks were about this high. So again, the cork is that high. I put the hole down here, so it can do the same thing. And I put my soil on top and I planted my herbs in my coffee cans. Same method. Just water it, it'll water itself and it'll sit outside and I don't have to worry about it for days. So anything that will hold water, you can do this. It does not have to be a bucket, it does not have to be an urn, it can be coffee containers, it can be soda bottles. You can do the same thing with soda bottles. The only difference with the soda bottle, you will cut it in half, you would do the wick, turn it upside down and plant in the top. So the sky is endless as to what you can do a wicking bucket with. It just depends on how creative you want to be. You can use, I've seen, what is those water things that they have on the trucks, what's it called? I don't know specific names. Yeah. You can use those. Anything that holds water that you haven't drilled holes in already, you can use it as a wicking bucket. Now I'm gonna show you exactly my step-by-step. Outside is gonna be 4 inches. Okay, y'all listening? Yay for y'all, Okay, let me get my drill bit. Now, don't ask me what size drill bit, I don't know, this is just the one I use.
Excuse me.
So you wanna use a big one. Use a big one. Okay. Now when you get ready to do your containers, you can do a smaller bit to do those. I would do the milk jug, because I'm telling you, it gets very tedious doing these containers. But if that's all you have, here's what you got.
And you're keeping it out of the landfill.
You're keeping it out of the landfill, that's right. So I'm gonna measure, and then I'm gonna drill my hole. Is that going the right way? No, it's not. Okay. Now this is another thing. Learn this the hard way. Clean that hole out, because it'll get plugged up on you. And you'll be like, what's wrong with my plant? Your hole's plugged. So you wanna make sure you take that plastic out. Some people prefer to drill 2 holes. It doesn't matter. If you drill a hole on this side and a hole on that side, you can do that. It's gonna do the same thing. So you drill your hole, And then your container. I got it pre-marked. You don't have to use a drill. You can use a soldering iron or something like that. You can use I just brought different things to show you different things. I don't want anybody running out to Home Depot buying stuff because I said you need to use this. You can use a box cutter. You can use a knife. Does anybody still have old hickory knives? We use that for everything growing up. Okay. You want to make your holes. One in the bottom for intake, 2 in the top on each side of your container. I'm a very inclusive gardener because, like I said, my first garden was milk crates, and you couldn't tell me I couldn't garden because I had something to hold soil in and I garden in it. So you're gonna do that. And again, I have a 1 1/8. I do know what that is. Drill bit to make my hole. If you don't have this, what do you use? Box cutter, old knife, some scissors. What you call a spade bit? Okay, that's what it is then. You want to drill your hole. Your hole is going to always be, remember, this side is going to be down, your hole is going to be in the back right here. Now, it's probably going to fling it all over the place because I'm not a professional here. Okay, so you're going to drill your hole back here. Okay, that's going to be for your pipe. It's going to be for your pipe. And so, your hole's here, your pipe's going to go on the side of your hole. You know, take your pipe. Well, I have both sides are on an angle, but you know, just make sure you put the angle one down. And we're just going to push it down in here. You put your soil on first. Put your soil in your bucket first. Then you put your water in your container. Because you don't want to, if you put the water in it, it's just going to be floating, it's going to look funny, you know, it's going to throw you off. So you want to put your soil in. Now, so far as nutrients, I use Mel's mix. I like to make my own mix. You know, perlite, compost, and peat moss. But you can use potting soil. You do not want to use garden soil with all the sticks and stuff in it. You want something a little bit finer. If you use your own compost, anything, you want to sift it to make sure you don't have all the big lumps and stuff in it. And depending on what you grow. Now, if I'm growing tomatoes, I put shrimp heads and shrimp shells and fish heads in it, you know, like you do in your garden. I put that in. I fill my container up to about 2/3. Put my fish heads in it. Put a little lime in it to keep, because I got a raccoon in my yard. He just discovered my compost. So we got to be looking out for him. You put a little lime on it to mask the smell. You can put kitchen compost in it, in your hole, maybe 2 to 3 weeks before you decide to plant in it so it can start to break down. And or your granular fertilizers, because I use 464 Sustain. I use Sea Mineral. That's recommended by Mr. Leon. And I also use, what's the other thing I use? Sometimes I'll use worm casting. Because I'm an experimenter, I do not stick to one thing. So I'll experiment. I say, what's going to grow better? Does the tomatoes grow better with the fish heads? Does it grow better with the compost? Does it grow better with the worm castings? So I have all that going on at the same time. Then once you get to here, you're going to put your nutrients in and then fill up your bucket with the rest of the dirt. Once your dirt is full in here, then you add your water. And in your container, half strength of fertilizer. Now I like to use fish emulsion. I like to use 501 fish emulsion. That's really good. Especially for something like if you're going to grow a cabbage, because I have cabbage and greens growing in buckets. And I've grown, Miss Paula, who's my mentor, we were talking, she said, oh, I really want to get dinosaur kale this year. I said, I got you. I said, I got one growing in a bucket. I'm going to bring it to you. So I have those growing in here. Let me see if I can find a picture of my tomato. I love Cherokee tomato, Cherokee purple tomatoes. Right. Container here, once you finish your wicking container, you can get an early start on your garden. You can take a milk container. We're doing recycling again, upcycling, milk container, juice container, soda bottle. Go ahead and plant in your planter. Now, I learned this from another master gardener. You would take your milk container, cut the bottom off, and you would make a cloche, like so. Now, this is a cloche I bought. I'm not spending $1 on this when I got milk containers and water containers and juice containers, but you can buy it if you don't have that. This is a cloche just from the dollar store. It has an air hole in the top, and it has little bitty holes. I'm gonna walk. It has little bitty holes on the side for you to anchor it, because you know we have some booger bear winds here. Okay, they will blow you down, so you know this is nothing. So they have little holes. I put skewers, or you can put the pegs in, or whatever you want to hold it down, and then it has a hole in the top. So what you would do with your Wicking bucket, and I start from seed. I'm not talking about a transplant. Seed. You can do seeds right now. You will put it in your pot at whatever depth that you need to put in for that seed. I wouldn't do okra, cucumbers, beans, stuff that you can direct sow, but things like tomatoes and peppers that take a long time, you can start it now. Put your clothes over it. Take your milk jug, cut the bottom out. Now the milk jug to me is better. Our new president taught me this. You're gonna cut the bottom out. You're gonna keep your tops. When you plant, you're gonna take that bottom and put over your plant. It's gonna be a greenhouse. When it gets down, you get the wonky weather like we've been having, 70, 20, 60, 40, when you get all that craziness, that's when this is gonna come into play. So when the temperature starts getting under 50, that's when you're gonna take and put your top back on. It's gonna make it hotter in your container. When the temperature goes back up, you're gonna take your top off, stick it in your dirt, so you'll know where it is. And you can get an early start on your garden if you wanna do that. Now sometimes I'll plant multiples in one container because we can transplant it. Let it grow, transplant it, put it in your other containers, put it in your earth garden. So that is the diversity of Wicking pots and Wicking or sub-irrigation buckets. Any questions about anything?
You've given us some good ideas.
I'm confused about the one with the trash bag. Where does the soil go?
The soil is already in the bucket.
Okay, and so the trash bag is over your.
It's a barrier to keep the water, like rainwater, from coming into your container and flushing out all your nutrients in your soil that's in your bucket.
So where's the plant?
The plant, you would make a hole and plant. I don't have a plant today.
Okay, so you make a hole in that trash
Yes,
bag,
ma'am.
and then are you putting a pot in there?
No,
No?
this is the pot. I'll bring it back there to you. And I only have this underneath it because it has water in the bottom and I put the water on it. So your soil's here. This is just like any planter like you have outside. You dig your hole, you plant your plant down in it.
Put on top
So
of it.
underneath there are your soda bottles.
Well, I have a milk jug or your soda bottles, yeah.
Okay, so when you water it through here, the water goes into the milk jug,
Yes, it goes
fills
to the
up,
bottom, yes.
okay, and then you plant in there, and then the plastic bag goes over where?
When you put you can, if you were using landscaping paper outside in your garden, you would make a cross and you would plant your plant in there and you would let that mulch over it, same concept. So you put it here, you cut it, plant your plant. Now, you don't have to do that, you can use mulch, yes ma'am.
Where do you get your components of Mel's mix?
Mel's mix, you can get it from anywhere. Your peat moss, you can get it from
That's
Home
easy.
Depot. Yes, peat moss, compost.
It's easy. What about your, just the bags of vermiculite?
Vermiculite I get from Home Depot, perlite I get from Lowe's, or Tractor Supply has.
Show us your Cherokee purple.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you the Cherokee purple. Okay, thank you for keeping me on task. Let's see. Let me go back to my main page. Videos. I'm just hoping that it doesn't, let's see where it is. Garden transformation. I gotta read. from Baker Creek.
Preach it, sister.
Baker Creek, M.I. Gardner, Michigan Gardener. I order from Haas Tools. Haas, H-O-S-S. They sell tools, they sell seeds. In my experience, Haas has the biggest turnaround. M.I. Gardner has the cheapest seeds. You may have to wait a little longer. H-O-S-S. Dollar Tree has heirloom seeds now. Dollar General has them, but I haven't been able to find them here. So some of my group members in Pennsylvania was telling me about it, and I haven't been able to find them here. But these are from Dollar Tree. I'll go to Home Depot, Walmart, Target,
Sprouts.
and I do trade seeds. I'm in about 3 seed trade groups. And then in my group, haven't really had anybody trading, but I do want them to start trading because I want to encourage people to save seeds. You don't have to buy seeds if you can save seeds. And then you know that they're true to whatever it is that you're saving as opposed to something that has been hybridized or something like that.
Exactly.
So I have a lot of seeds, a lot of native perennial seeds that I've gotten from people, things I've never heard of and I can't even pronounce. So, but that's the companies that I tend to buy from. I love Baker Creek. Baker Creek is very, how can I say, they're always looking for different things to introduce to us here in the Americas. A lot of their stuff, a lot of their greens are really good. They're high in vitamins and nutrients, things that we can't usually get here. They'll go to Asia. They go to a lot of Asian countries. I think you were ordering the Tajimicide, Tatsoi, all those are really high in nutrients, vitamin A, vitamin C, and that's what I like most about Baker Creek. And their seeds are heirloom. They do test their seeds. They have really huge greenhouses where they test the germination rate of their seeds. The newest seed that I got from Baker Creek is the Motherland Okra from Ghana, Africa. It is a okra that the pods are like that, not like the Alabama or the David, the Star David, but they're like that.